So I'm going to tell you something that you might not be ready to hear, but I'm going to let you know anyways. So before I get started, I just want to say that I'm coming from a place of experience and a place of love and a place of understanding. And with that being said, let's get straight into this video. So when it comes to relationships, and a lot of times I am talking about romantic relationships, but even other relationships, so like family, friendships, co-workers, business relationships, professional relationships, doesn't matter what it is. When you have been playing a certain role in a relationship for so long, sometimes it's hard to escape that role when you're trying to set better boundaries or lean more into your authentic self or change the dynamic of the relationship. It can be very challenging because it's not just on you to change, it's also on the other people around you to either change as well or to accept the fact that you are changing. But even if they are accepting the fact that you are changing, that also means that they ultimately have to change as well. They have to change how they interact with you. They have to change how they talk to you. They have to change how they see you. They have to change how they lean on you. They have to change too. And a lot of times people are not ready to change with you. And I have found that a lot of times the best way to change a dynamic in a relationship is to just leave that relationship or distance yourself from certain people, because of the simple fact of, if you've let someone get away with disrespecting you for so long, and then one day you just stop letting them disrespect you, or you start standing up for yourself in hopes of the fact that they'll stop disrespecting you, they're probably 9 times out of 10 gonna keep disrespecting you because they feel like, oh, well, you're standing up for yourself today, but tomorrow you're gonna let me slide. And they're gonna keep thinking in the back of their head that you're going to eventually go back to the person that they knew. And sometimes it's best to just distance yourself and give that relationship or that person space so that you can really hone in on this new narrative that you're going after, or this new role that you're playing, or whatever it may be, just like this new persona that you're taking on. So if you're taking on a persona of someone who has more boundaries, who is more assertive, who has more self-love, has more self-respect, a lot of times, if you've been around people for so long and they're so used to you crossing your own boundaries for them, not having any self-respect, not prioritizing yourself, it is going to make your journey of self-improvement 10 times harder, because we're already fighting our own internal dialogue on the things that, we're already fighting our internal dialogue to try to be this new person anyway. So it's already some resistance there, because our body, our brain is so used to being one way that when we're trying to shift into this new identity, it's just like there's some resistance, because our brain is like constantly trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I respond to this? Because my old self would do this, but I'm not doing that anymore. So it's like you're constantly trying to have to figure out, like, who am I? How am I responding? What am I doing? What does it look like to have self-love? What does it look like to have boundaries? Am I going too far? Am I not doing enough? Am I doing too much? So there's already that internal balance. But when it comes to people who don't want to change with you, don't want to accept the fact that you're changing, and they're just adding a level of resistance that is kind of just like unacceptable, sometimes it's best to just cut that whole relationship off, either until you are fully until you are like all the way into this new identity, or just for the simple, like, just, it's just gonna have to get cut off. Because as someone who has, I would say I've had like many like spiritual awakenings, and many times where I've had to like be reborn again. But I've noticed that every time I have a spiritual awakening, or I come into this new level of self-awareness, self-love, self-respect, learning my boundaries and all these things, every time I come into this new level and I like either distance myself from people or cut people off, even if I try to go back, I can't a lot of the times. Because sometimes the only reason that you were connected to those people is because you were at a certain level. And if you exceed that level, you no longer are able to thrive or survive in environments with certain people, in certain relationships, in certain situations, because it's just like, the only way that it's going to work is if you go back to being your old self. So never be scared to sacrifice relationships outside of you for the relationship with yourself, because the relationship with yourself is the most important one that you'll ever have. But the most important part to remember about this all is when you are walking away from people and things that no longer resonate with who you are becoming, just know that where you're going next, there will be people there that respect your boundaries, that get on program with this new person, or that don't know they don't, it's not that they don't know anything about who you used to be, but they see you for who you are now and not for who you used to be. So they're more likely to, follow suit and get in line and be on the same wavelength as you are currently, instead of trying to pull you back to an old version of you or old wavelength that you are no longer on. So don't be scared to like cut people off if that's what you need to do, because where you're headed, you will find new people. So even if that's a romantic relationship, let's just say you've been in this romantic relationship and you've been with your partner for years, and they've cheated, they've lied, y'all have disrespected each other, y'all have cheated on each other, but you no longer want to be a cheater. You no longer want to disrespect your partner. You no longer want to be this person that goes back and forth with their partner. So you want to step into this new era, and you also want this person to come with you, but they don't want to do that. They would like, it's not that they like the dynamic that you guys have, but they are so familiar with it, they're so comfortable with it, they don't see themselves treating you any kind of different way, and they don't see themselves doing anything different than what they have been doing. So you decide, okay, well, I'm going to leave this person, and I'm working on myself to be a better partner, not just attracting a better partner, but I also want to be a better partner myself. And that's a lot of what we don't understand about. A lot of people think like, oh, you're acting brand new, or you act like you're too good for us now. A lot of times when you go on a spiritual awakening or a spiritual journey, it's not just about, people treating you better. It's also about you treating other people better. It's not just about, you getting more from the outside world, getting more respect or getting more love. It's also about you giving more respect and you giving more love and you making better decisions as well. So of course you want that to be reciprocated in your relationships, and the things on the outside, you want that to be given back to you. So that's why sometimes you have to leave the past in the past, because those people from your past, they just don't know how to meet you at this level. And sometimes you need to break free from them and take distance from them and take space from them and let there be some time in between, because maybe they'll go on their own spiritual journey, you go on your own spiritual journey, and it might take a while before you guys meet back here where you guys are equally yoked again. But sometimes when you go on your spiritual journey, you might start out on that spiritual journey alone, or you might start out on that spiritual journey with a lot less weight on your shoulders, because you have to cut off certain relationships in order to even get some good momentum going. Okay, get that clarity that you need, and the confidence that you need to keep going, because it's it's not impossible, but it is hard to change and to thrive in this new identity that you're trying to step into, or this new version of you that you're trying to embrace, when there's someone or something or people or places that are constantly telling you, well, this is who you used to be, this is what you used to do, and then they're constantly treating you as your past self, and it's hard for you to get out of this old version of you and get off this old timeline, because everything around you is reminding you of where you came from instead of helping you embrace where you're going. So this is just food for thought, because I don't want you to think about it like how many times you've tried to change and do better, but something or somebody around you just you felt like it was keeping you stuck. And it's not just about other people, and it's not just everybody else's fault. This is not a blame thing, but this is just acknowledging the fact that when you are really committed, a part of the process sometimes of you taking yourself seriously and you're taking your journey seriously is backing up from the things that you feel like enable you to, or give you the excuses that you need to stay where you at, or enable you to stay where you at, or make excuses for you to stay where you at because, well, they're comfortable there, so why aren't you comfortable here? They're comfortable with, being reckless and being this and being that. So now they're looking at you crazy because, oh, you think you're better than us because you want to do something different than what we've always done. We've always argued, fought, and then made up. We've always talked to each other disrespectfully and then got right back cool. We've always done this thing this way. But now you want to come in and change the programming. And sometimes people act like you're doing it to spite them or to disrespect them or to act like you're better than them. But sometimes you just want better for yourself. And sometimes that means taking space from the things that remind you of the old versions of you.